Well, happy Monday to you. It's July 11th, 2022, and we're here on the Adam Carolla subreddit, or as I often call it, a sub forum, even though it's not, it's a subreddit. And we're here to do, my version of a podcast of the Adam Carolla subreddit to talk about what's going on in here. Many times, almost all the time, it's actually funnier than the show. And there's a lot of people in this sub forum that have listened to Adam for many, many years. Not everybody, but a lot of people had from decades ago. And we come here to complain and we come here to talk. And there's a lot of inside jokes that people can make with each other that have listened to Adam for many, many years, because Adam's provided so much content for decades that as a longtime listener, if you listen to a lot of radio or podcasts nowadays, wherever you get your media, you may have come across this. And anyway, it's just a funny, interesting place to be. And it's my comic relief for the day. I can't stop. I've been in and out of the Adam Carolla Sub forums and subreddits and so on since like 2008, I think 2007, and then listened to Adam back in the 90s. So even though we complain and we seem to be harsh and really difficult, and there's a collection of many different types of voices of political views that commiserate here, I think we actually all mean well, and we'd like to see the show get better, and we'd like to continue to listen, and some people actually do listen. I haven't listened today. We'll talk about the show thread. There isn't much in there yet, but we'll first start here with a stickied post of Gina saying nice to see you. Now, I initially had not clicked on this because I wasn't really interested, or I hadn't been listening to the show. But the more I dug into this thread, I see why it's stickied, and it's certainly something to talk about. So what's going on here is we have evidence. Somebody used a service called Pods. Here we go. Using Podscribe. Jonathan Cage, Nicolas Cage's younger sibling. Now, I don't know if that's true. Using Podscribe. All right, haven't heard of this, but it is podcast transcript. I think that's supposed to be transcript and not transripped. Transripped would be what would happen if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson decided to give himself a vagine instead of a cock and balls. That would be what transripped is. Transcript is probably what that is, unless it's a new term. Transripped. I don't know. My Google doesn't work. I'm not sure. So point is using Podscribe to be able to dig through the podcast and find all. Oh my God, I got to sneeze. Hold on a second. COVID, get out of there. Okay. Is using this Podscribe to dig through text and to find exactly what this is about. Meaning, somebody caught that Gina said that she used the line "It's nice to see you" when meeting a celebrity guest who comes into a studio or who you talk to, because she couldn't remember whether or not she had met the person before. And through not only just the people that listen to the show and remember this, but the Podscribe really identifies exactly what's going on here. It's Adam, at least one of the first times he told the story, which he's probably told many times, talks about this issue with Janine Garofalo and being embarrassed that he had said "nice to meet you," but he had already met her several times before she'd been on the show. So it looks like Gina is essentially taking that story and then calling it her own in today's, or the 7th podcast of July 7th. Now, this is the reason why this gets stickied here, and why this becomes something that everyone is the entire board, everybody, literally everybody. There are not any real Gina defenders anymore. Everyone's against her. Everyone's like, can't handle this. Gotta go. And for the few minutes that I've listened to the show recently, yeah, I agree with you. She's not providing. Now, rather than, I can't, she's basically indefensible. She's not someone that anyone wants to listen to. And I think we all see through stuff. And one thing that we really can't handle is inauthenticity. And I think she's really trying too hard to fill a role. And it's probably her job. So I don't know how much we can fault her. She's probably trying to do her job. But we don't like what her job is. Being the Robin Quivers of the show, which I think is what Adam is kind of looking for, is not what we need here, right? We need someone to help steer Adam in a direction instead of just be a cheerleader for whatever he's saying. That's clear. We need addition. One person cannot speak for hours and hours and hours a day, multiple days a week, and come up with new stuff. You have to bring in guests. You have to have a lively set of others involved so that you mix it up. Otherwise, it just gets too repetitive. And certainly any of the attributes or traits that we find difficult to digest out of Gina only become amplified the more and more and more you hear her. So overall, I'd say we wish she wasn't on the show anymore. And a lot of these threads that just decry what's going on are focused on her. And clearly this is going to be a thing as long as she's on the show, but it is what it is. So let's talk about today. Today, Dean Del Rey. It's a nice speech. Matt Walsh and Christina Chang. Hey, somebody else has an Asian girlfriend. Adam talks about Macy Gray apologizing for her recent comments. The mass murderer and the mass murderer. Okay, so somebody jumped a sentence here. Macy Gray apologizing for her recent comments, comma, semicolon, colon. Give me some punctuation here. The mass murderer and the mass murderer. So, okay, so it's supposed to be this is gone and somebody started typing mass murder beforehand. It happens. We joke about the guy who makes $17 an hour that wrote this. If this person has to listen to the show, boy, that's worth a whole lot more than $17 an hour. You got to listen to the show, right? Show summary. Richard Speck. I don't know who Richard Speck was. I know there was Specter who died right in prison. Was it? No, Arlen Specter was a senator at some point. No, there was Phil Spector was in prison. Is Richard Speck? No, probably not. That's Speck, not Specter. Somebody's transitioning in prison. Boy, I'm sick of talking about trans this, trans that. I've just had enough of that. We all think it's weird. Even trans people think it's weird, right? All right, actors Matt Walsh and Christina Chang join the show and talk about their new film press play, where they play husband and wife. Are they dating as well? Or are they husband and wife? Give me more information, show description. Matt talks about the trouble with taking mushrooms and the magic of the Veep writer's room. What trouble? I did mushrooms once, a little bit. I wasn't willing to dive into the full bowl of mushrooms. Only took a little bit. Not my thing, not really into it. My brain's already screwed up enough. I don't need to alter it any further. Christina bonds with Gina over their Kansas roots. Hey, yeah, it's tough to get out of Kansas. It's so flat. You think it would be easy, but it's tough. It's tough to get out of that. It talks about how she once studied trapeze. Wow, right, there's something. Comedian Deanie Del Rey, or just Dean, comes into the studio to talk about his podcast. Let there be talk, and then there was humor. John Hyatt, oh boy, how long? Whoever wrote the show description, how long did this John Hyatt discussion come on? Now, a lot of people knock Adam for his love of John Hyatt, and then they kind of experience John Hyatt and realize that Adam's musical taste can be difficult to deal with. But when I was cleaning out or helping someone clean out a home, someone had passed away, they had a concert t-shirt from John Hyatt, and it was a pretty cool t-shirt actually. And so I knew who John Hyatt was, and I asked for that t-shirt and I got it. And the person was like, why on earth do you want a John Hyatt t-shirt? I'm like, it's Adam Carolla related. It just is. Anyway, California rolls. What California rolls? California rolls? Just sushi? And what makes a good realtor? Boy, there's a whole lot of jumping. This is someone who was listening to the podcast on like 2 or 3x, right? And just grabbed a couple of the topics and threw them into the show description, because the show description is not that long. It's late on a Sunday night, right? All right. Gina Grad reports the news today, including Japanese politician. Yeah, that's the former prime minister, right, of Japan. Very sad. Shinzo Abe assassinated during campaign speech. Yeah, that is big news. I heard that happen, and yeah, he was Democratic. A lot of tough story. Certainly not for a comedy podcast, that's for sure, but it is news. Derek Chauvin sentenced to 21 years in federal prison. I think most people are happy with that. An update on the Vince McMahon sex scandal. Don't know. Sacha Baron Cohen defeating a $95 million defamation suit by Roy Moore was it Texas or Oklahoma? I think it's Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma Congressman, maybe Roy Moore. I think so. Amber Heard in talks to write a tell-all book because she needs money. Absolutely. And Lindsay Lohan apparently still alive and getting engaged. So, there isn't a whole lot in here, but it is a show. It is a show. It has comedians. It has people promoting media. I don't think we can complain about the guests, even though I haven't heard of them, but it's okay. It's all right. Let's not be angry. Never apologize. Let's not be angry. Yeah, we've heard of John Hyatt. And Matt Walsh is misspelled twice. Oh, is it Wash? Called him Matt Walsh. Listen, $17 an hour, right? I mean, that's what you're getting here. All right, let's go to some other show threads because I have browsed before. The Crow going down using the whatever that is as a snowboard, jar lid as a snowboard is kind of cool. It makes you wonder if Adam would get focused on things and watch more documentaries at night instead of Love Boat episodes. Maybe we would hear more things like crows are really intelligent, because that's why these crow threads always pop up. It's like whenever a crow does something mildly intelligent, we all think of Adam Carolla because he yanted up forever about how crows are really, really smart. All right. Here we go, Hopkins. I bash Hopkins a little bit, but it's a pretty good post here, actually. So Carolla classes, he's walking his dogs and he's listening to Carolla classes. It was the one with Ray on. The next few sentences here, we're talking about pushing away people and what has happened and the deterioration, losing friendships, and kind of what has happened with the podcast and some things that you can't help but talk about what may be lacking in Adam's life. It's difficult to obviously perform when you're going through a lot of personal issues that I'm sure Adam has, but the question is, well, how many of these personal issues did he bring up upon himself, right? I think a lot of us that are aware of the Donnie situation, there was a lawsuit that like Adam and Donnie got into a lawsuit about what's going on, and they're not friends anymore. Long time, lifelong friends. Can you imagine taking your best friend to court when you're like in your 40s? Now, actually, I understand how that happens. The answer is when you have lifelong relationships and then you become business partners and then you get money into the equation, oftentimes either the business fails or the friendship fails. And I think what we saw is the friendship failing, and whether or not the friendship could have been saved if Adam could have done things differently is an open question. It probably could have, but it's just, there's a lot of sadness here. So here's a thread, which is kind of just like, we're wishing for the past. And we're pointing out why the past is not what it has not rolled into today, or what was true in the past is not true today with what's going on. So, there's how many comments here? Like 39 comments. Yeah, people are here discussing. Some people haven't heard of Ray, but most people have. Most people are long time listeners. It's really an inside club here. There's a lot of people that know what has happened. So pretty good post. Pretty good post. It just tells a story. Some other things I want to talk about. Megan Paradise. Why hasn't she been arrested? I think she hasn't been arrested. This is Lynette's niece. If you've seen any videos with her, I mean, there's a video with her and Sonny, like at some rally or something like that. And this person's not all there, okay, mentally. She's not all there. And it's amazing how like the mentally ill get so co-opted by the hard right. Why is it that the mentally ill are so susceptible and only seem to be heavily on one side? Like what is it about that? I think it has something to do with targeted targeting trigger words and making people fear others, which is what the right does a lot. So it it ends up affecting people that are more easily triggered emotionally and unstable. And so Megan Paradise is, there's a reason why she hasn't been arrested and isn't locked up right now. And it's not because she shouldn't be. It's because she clearly is not one of the people who was um, organizing this assault on our government, organizing essentially a terrorist attack to try to keep Trump in power. She wasn't organizing it, but she was easily co-opted into being part of it. And she went into Nancy Pelosi's office and took a picture of herself. The answer is, how retarded do you have to be to do that? And the answer is pretty retarded. And that's what she is. So I feel bad for everyone involved. I don't think she's a danger, except for the fact that she will easily continue to be co-opted by people that are triggering her. And so we talk about, what do you do about this situation? It's a war of information. It's a war of information, and there is no stopping the free flow of all types of information. But gosh, it gets really scary when you think about what we need to do to solve this problem. Is we need to freaking monitor everybody so much and monitor communication so much that when we see people starting to get triggered in a manner that is unpredictable, like when there are people who are talking about potential attacks or bringing guns across state lines to do something, there's usually a digital trail well before that actually occurs. And sometimes you'll hear stories about, the police picked somebody up at a rest area in Maryland. They were going to go try to, shoot up some whatever, I'm not even going to name anything, but they're trying to commit some type of violent act, and they have a lot of guns on them, and they catch them even before they get there. It's like, how did they do that? Well, there are a lot of signs. Our social media is the trail of, not just social media, but all of our digital communications are the trail that when it is viewed at, think about the 4th of July shooter, the parade shooter in Highland Park, obvious signs all over social media, obvious attempts of suicide. There are signs for these things. And I think that the fear of being monitored should be overwhelmed. That fear should actually be overwhelmed by the fear of insecurity if we don't monitor people, because the power of the individual to cause massive harm to the society as a whole has never been greater than it is today. And that ability for one to destroy many is actually only going to be amplified into the future because of the ability to marry yourself with artificial intelligence and other things that you could amplify whatever it is that you want to impact in the world. So you can be really dangerous, and the world's going to have to start to decide how much intrusive monitoring we want and we can do. And I'm not against it. I think that old adage, like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what are you worried about? It actually, that's kind of right, because even when you may be doing things that are kind of wrong or a little bit wrong, well, everyone's doing those things. It's not like the government isn't aware of everybody committing some kind of class C misdemeanors once in a while. So if everyone's going to get monitored, then what you end up having is kind of what happens in the stores now, which is you have that they're not even prosecuting shoplifting under grand larceny, right? They're not even people taking more than just $5-10 worth of stuff, like even like hundreds of dollars of stuff, and not getting prosecuted. That I don't agree with that, but that's kind of what happens when there's so much money, right? There's cameras everywhere. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to arrest and prosecute somebody for stealing $50 worth of stuff out of a pharmacy? It costs so much more to do that than the cost of the item. That and you even though you have all the cameras and everything, just nobody does anything because it's just so pervasive and so prevalent. Interesting thoughts here. It's really a lot to talk about. It's a lot to talk about. Then there was this thread about the Tesla, and I wanted to kind of end on this and talk a little bit about this because it made me think of something in my own life. And anyway, so all right, so Tesla. So I threw myself on a grenade. Lead dramatic 3995. March 9th, 1995, right? Is that what it is? I don't know. I like to guess numbers. and you want to be an actor, right? That would put you at, let's see here, 1 year leading dramatic. I mean, that makes you right towards 5, 15. It's only 27 years old. Yeah, 95 was not that long ago. All right, so I threw myself on a grenade and I listened to part 1 for today. Apparently, Lynette has a new $100,000 Tesla that Adam is driving while his car's in the shop. All right, I don't think this is a new car. I think she's had a Tesla for a while, right? Unless she got a new one. Doesn't he have a team of mechanics and fabricators working at his pirate ship warehouse? Did the divorce money pay for the car? And why is he using his ex-wife's car? So many questions. Well, let me address this question here at the end. Why is he using his ex-wife's car? Clearly, he needs a car. And this is something that you actually start to brag about after you get divorced, which is, I do it all the time. I brag about how great my relationship is with my ex-wife. And I always say it's better than when we were married. I actually had a conversation. I can't share everything about this. I'm going to twist the story just slightly a little bit, but I was speaking with my ex-wife. This is a true part. I was speaking with my ex-wife and somebody else. And the somebody else, somebody I didn't really know very well, and they were letting me know that they were getting a divorce. And it was funny because, we're all standing there talking, and my ex-wife and I are like, oh yeah, divorces are awesome. Like marriages suck. Like, divorces are great. Like, things have never been better since we got divorced. And so I sense that there's a little bit of that there. It's kind of like, and it's also a little bit of like, I yearn for the way things were, because it was a more like it was a safer life. It was something that you were accustomed to, that the marriage and stuff like this. So like, why is he using his ex-wife car? Because he can, and it's good. Like, so I think he wants to bring it up, just be like, yeah, I still have some kind of relationship. Like, it's not, I think you're kind of come to grips with the divorce. It's many stages of it. And so this is a good one. Using your ex-wife car is a good thing. Whoever wrote this, you're lead dramatic, you're 27-year-old, you have not been divorced for years. No, you haven't. You don't understand. So anyway, what's going on here? I just want to talk about the Tesla. And also, I like that he keeps talking about Tesla, because I just really want the world to go in this direction. I'm so excited to see companies like Tesla really taking over. I'm seeing so many more of them on the road. I have a reservation for a Cybertruck, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get a really powerful Cybertruck and really tour the country with it as soon as I get it, to see how it will work, and supercharging all across the country and everything. I just think it's a fascinating. There's so much we can do with this type of technology. I mean, if we get everybody with vehicles, semi trucks, everything, we get it all on a grid, all electric, then you start to have charging stations everywhere. You start to generate the power for those charging stations from alternative sources of energy, like not burning coal. You could have solar powered charging stations and huge battery packs all over the country. Every 10 or 20 miles, you won't have lines for charging stations. It will replace the gas station. Imagine when dirty old gas stations are basically gone. How awesome is that going to be? Right? When you just sit down at a beautiful roadside cafe and charge your car for 15, 20 minutes to get the miles you need, with all the other fart sniffing hippies or yuppies, whatever you want to call it. We'll all be yuppies at that point. And not to mention how the cost of ownership is so much lower on an electric car. So much lower. It may be $100,000, but that doesn't matter. Because you don't have oil changes, you don't have transmissions, you don't have any of these things that could go wrong. You have a different set of things that can go wrong, like needing a new battery, and that's why battery technology is great. So I just love to see anything Tesla. My advice is always buy stock options in Tesla. It doesn't matter where they are right now. This company is taking over, and they're just years ahead of basically everybody else in the industry. It's only China that can copy them properly, or because they're actually building in China. But I don't mind what Elon Musk is doing. We can do a whole podcast about Elon Musk because that guy is news 100% of the time. Here's a guy that no matter what he does, I will follow that guy. I will listen to him. I assume that guy is smarter than me. I mean, he knows. He's very interesting dude, and the whole thing with him trying to buy Twitter and then getting out of that, or at least trying to get out of that deal now because he's saying that Twitter is more than 5% bots and they can't prove it to him. Genius. He probably just trolled them. The whole thing was probably just a troll so that he could prove to everyone how like 25% or more of the users on Twitter are all bots, and we need to change the way that we use our Twitter with an understanding that what's getting amplified is getting amplified by bots, and bots can be driven by one person or a small group of people. So maybe the information we're getting out of Twitter about how many people are liking things, how many people are up or retweeting things and all that, maybe we need to reevaluate our assessments of really what's going on. I think that was the point of his Twitter deal. So anyway, we've gone off the Adam Carolla topic, but that's what we're gonna do because this is an ACS subreddit podcast. It's an Adam Carolla subreddit podcast where we talk about anything and everything, including Kid Boy. Oh, gosh. All right. So that's the podcast for the day. It's been a long day, but I always like to pod. And if you're sitting around, need something to listen to, well, that's why we're here. So maybe we'll be back on Tuesday. Maybe there'll be new guests. I don't know. Maybe we won't. We'll see what happens. So good luck, everybody. Enjoy your podcasts. May all of them be listenable.